Hi there, everyone. Welcome to today's Family Office. I'm Kat Delgadillo here to co-host our event with our CEO, Hall Martin, who's going to be talking a little bit about 10 Capital and what we do here. Hall?
Great. Thanks, Kat. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today for another great presentation from both our panelists, Brian Woods, as well as our companies. Before we jump into that, let's talk more about 10 Capital and who we are. We want to welcome you to our today's virtual event. We at heart, we help startups and investors connect for funding. We're basically built on that. Next slide. And so what we do is we help companies get ready for fundraising. We coach on fundraise strategy, revamp pitch decks, and revamp positioning, and do many other things that help them. We identify investors that are interested in then set up engagement online, in person, and on dinner events. We've raised over $900 million since we started 12 years ago when we originally were named Texas Entrepreneurs Network. But in short, we provide the legwork and save you time and money. Next slide. So at heart, our mission is we are forming capital for early stage funding. We help high net worth individuals launch family offices. That's the purpose of today's event. The Family Office Roundtable is focused on topics related to high net worths who want to start family offices or family offices who want to know how to run a family office program. We also help VC funds find limited partners, mostly family offices. Family offices fund emerging managers, which is a critical point in the startup ecosystem. And finally, we help angel groups find members. As an angel investor myself, I can attest that an angel investor will do much better in a group than they will by themselves, because I found when I was doing it alone, I spent all day finding the deal and I spent all night doing diligence on them, and really have to share that workload as best we can. So we help angel groups find members, have done that with about a dozen different angel groups. C10, Frontier Angels, Keiretsu, and many others have used our resources to find more members for what they're doing. Next slide. So in addition to the Family Office Roundtable, which you see up there, and that's what you'll have here today, we also have the Quick Pitch. It's also a 2-hour online event with companies pitching. Each company has 10 minutes to pitch, 5-minute Q&A. And the Quick Pitch is for technology-based companies. About half our deal flow is in that space with a lot of emphasis on AI. The other half of our deal flow is life science, and that's for the Life Science Syndicate. And these are people that are on the FDA path, biotech, therapeutics, med devices, diagnostics, and the like. And if you want to learn more about 10 Capital, just go to 10capital.group and you'll see there's a button for events. Click on that and you'll learn about our events and what's coming up. Next slide. If you're a startup, go ahead and take a picture of that QR code and fill out the form and send it to us. And we'll check to see if this is a fit for our program and see if you can benefit from our fundraising efforts. And we'll be back in touch with you afterwards. Next slide. And finally, we have a podcast program called Investor Connect, and we've had over 800 interviews with angel VC family offices that talk about what they invest and how they invest in startups and early stage companies. And we also have what's called the Startup Funding Espresso. In the time it takes to drink an espresso, you can learn something about startup funding and investing. These are 300-word micro blog posts with about 1.5-minute audio, and we've done over 2,000 of these. And when AI came along, we decided to put all of them into our own LLM. And so you can actually ask a question to our chat bot, which we call Ava, and it just gives you a synthesized answer. No more just getting a bunch of links. You're now actually getting the answer you want. And so this is a great step forward, and love to have you do it. Let's hear more about it from the video.
Hi there. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ava, your personal AI venture assistant. I'm your new best friend in the world of investing in startups, the 10 Capital AI chatbot. I'm here to make your journey through the startup ecosystem easier, faster, and a lot more fun. Need help finding your next big investment? Or maybe you're a founder looking for fundraising tips? I've got you covered. I pull all my knowledge from over 500 blogs, countless podcasts, and even some nifty calculators, like the How Fundable Is Your Startup tool, to give you the answers you need. So how do I work? Easy. You simply go to where I live on startupfundingespresso.com and look for me in the bottom right. As soon as I appear, go ahead and click on me to let me know you're here. And then there you go. All your questions answered at your fingertips. Whether you're into health tech, biotech, life sciences, or any of the other exciting fields out there, I'm equipped to help you navigate the trends, challenges, and opportunities in each one. Got a question? Just ask. And guess what? I even pull insights from the 10 Capital Network podcast on Investor Connect. It's packed with expert advice, success stories, and more, all designed to help you succeed in the venture capital world. So what are you waiting for? Let's chat. I'm here 24/7 to help you find the right answers, connect with great opportunities, and make the most out of your investments. See you on startupfundingespresso.com.
Great. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Our presenter today for content is going to be Brian Wood of Wave Ventures. He comes from the deep tech space and funds deep tech startups, and we'll hear from him here in a moment. After that, we'll have 3 companies that are pitching. We'll have to get your guys' feedback on it, and we'll wrap up the day with a series of breakout rooms that you can go and talk to any of these people that you see here today. But with that, let's bring up Brian. And Brian, if you go ahead and launch your slides and tell us more about Wave Ventures and your background.
Yes, sir. Let me get the slides up here for us. All right, everything coming across there?
We see it now.
Okay, very good. Well, Hall, thank you. I'm very excited to be here today and to share with you a little bit of the kind of the evolutionary story of kind of our innovative model and how we've begun what we do at Wave. Wave is actually a moniker for Waco Ventures. You'll find out in a minute, most of our story began in Waco in partnership with Baylor University, but it certainly expanded out from there. But before we dive into all that, I do want to say a great thanks to Hall. We recently have been connected through some common friends, which is always the key. We say at Wave all the time, everything moves at the speed of relationships. And Hall has very uniquely created a network here with 10 Capital that's very, very efficient in being able to connect with people. I was able to attend one of my first dinners with 10 Capital just a few months ago, and already have significant and fruitful relationships that are burgeoning out of that, and helping not only at the firm level, but several of our portfolio companies and things that we help advance to their goal lines. And so very, very excited to be here, be a part of this, and to get to meet some of you today. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the deep tech innovations and how we have begun our firm around university and university tech transfer. Today, you're going to learn a little bit about how we have built those relationships now with multiple universities, the unique model under which we engage those universities and participate in their intellectual properties. But perhaps most importantly, how do we take and mature technologies that are in certain TRL states, along the journey of 0 to 9, getting from an idea all the way out to the marketplace. But in addition to the maturation, what we do specifically at Wave is we not only source the technologies, we then build the companies and the talent around them in order to get them to market. And you'll hear about several of the strategies that are here. So let me dive in. All the information and slides that we're going to present today, you can certainly get a copy of from Kat or from Hall after the process. But we are, an initial fund. You'll hear about our team here in just a minute, but we went to market late 23, wrong time to be raising an early stage technology fund. Certainly you might say out in the marketplace, but we're very blessed to get out and launch a small $25 million fund. We were able to oversubscribe that to 31. In addition to this fund and some of the unique modeling that we did with our universities, you'll learn about some of the other companies and investments that we've been able to do. Total for Waco Ventures, we're just under 100 million AUM, launched right in the middle of the pandemic in 2020 year. But we've been able to cross this particular fund to launch 10 portfolio companies out into the marketplace. 50% of those, 5 of those are direct sourced deep tech coming off of a university campus. And then in the rest of the fund, we've sourced just regular things along our expertise and some of the other pieces there. I'm going to explain to you in the model in just a minute, but we've got some significant opportunities in a de-risked environment to have a significant TVPI and a nice 30% IRR over the course of everything that we're doing here. And we'll cover this in more depth here in just a second, but what we've done is we've developed this venture firm in order to fund these vehicles and create significant returns for our LPs. What we've also had to do was build an ecosystem that we now call Tech Transfer Studio, which is the science and the diligence process that comes alongside all of the services at the campus to be able to make sure that the right technologies are chosen and sourced, the right technologies have a company built around them correctly, and that the right strategies are being used in order to get them out into the marketplace. So I'm excited to dive in and tell you about all of that. Before I move into the actual model and how the kind of the unique evolution of it came, let me pause and just give you a little bit of background on me for context. I should have done that right at the top. but pretty new actually to the venture space. Just to be honest with you guys, I didn't ever plan to be in this particular role or doing what I'm doing. I actually started out life as some of the pictures here, and I was talking with Ray and some of the guys earlier. I started out life in the professional music world, was a musician, touring musician for a good amount of time. Did get to go to my undergraduate school on full music rides in order to do that with jazz and some other performing arts areas. I met my wife of 31 years at that university, met her father, and there was a need to do something other than just be a musician in order to win the girl. And so I had some great advisors in my life, and they advised me to go to medical school. So I wound up deciding in the mid-90s to go to medical school. Did get to go to school at University of Texas down in San Antonio. Wound up in the military because most of San Antonio is a military town. Many of y'all probably know that. But I wound up in the Air Force. I did aerospace medicine for about 7 years with the B-1 bomber unit. And then after getting out of the military in 2003, I was able to come back here to Dallas, Texas, which is where I'm from and where I'm based currently. And did my anesthesia and pain management residency here at UT Southwestern over at Parkland Hospital. Joined a small company called North Star Anesthesia in 2007 when I got done with my training. And then just like many of you, being a serial entrepreneur and interested in building and growing and scaling businesses, I was very blessed to be a part of the team that took that company in 2007. We were doing about 14 million top line with about 11 contracts, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then over the course of the next 15 years, we'd scale that to about 1.5 billion nationwide, 273 hospital contracts, 28 states. And every possible negotiation, merger and acquisition, and technology roll-up process to create a business of that scale got to be involved in those places and learned a lot of lessons along the way. We exited multiple times through private equity. First was to TPG Capital back in 2013. We exited to long-term capital in 2018, a group called Cranmere Capital based out of London and New York and DC. It was after that acquisition that I had a lot of fun doing the merger and acquisition plays. And so started getting involved in some consulting and helping small businesses. And that's when I met Alan Page, who is, you'll find out here in many ways, the architect of some of the model that we're about to dive in. So in 2020, he invited me at the request of Baylor University eventually, and then with Wave getting started and expanding out to other universities, we got the opportunity to build kind of this unique model and process we'll explain. So let me dive into that model and tell you what's going on here, kind of at an overview of what we do. This slide is just a very quick illustration to show you how we differ from a typical traditional VC, fund strategy approach. So we all know the process. You find a VC investment, you start looking at potentially placing some capital in that. Every early stage founder and VC has or early stage founder and inventor has a lot of beliefs in how beautiful their baby is and how special and process it is. And so you place some capital in that particular situation, and if it's a passive situation, you might wind up with a 20% stake, just for capital placement. Oftentimes, there's a lot of people telling that inventor or that founder or business creator, how nice they are. So it can be a competitive process to even get to the point of getting to the deal terms and getting that done. Typical fund making, let's call it 10 to 12 plays. You're going to be looking for a winner and some that'll cover, and then you're going to take some losses because it's early stage VC. And so you're looking for a typical TVPI of 1.5, 3 times over the course of the fund life on a 7 to 10 year play. And then if you're in the early seed stage and you go through seed and then Series A and then potentially an eventual Series B, you're going to go through additional dilution after initial capital position. So maybe you start with 20, but you end up at 15%, maybe less, depending on the structure and the valuation process through that world. What we have at Wave is a very unique model that offers the following. One, we start the day as LPs in these startup companies with over 80% of the cap table. I'll explain how that's possible here in just a second. Because of our unique relationship with universities, which I'm about to unpack, we have a very proprietary deal hunt and seek process, and then we literally get to cherry pick and work on the technologies that we think have the best market addressability and the ability to get to market and hit their returns and their numbers. Because of that, just in our initial fund, which you'll hear about several of the companies here in a little bit, but in our initial fund, we're projecting over a 7x, and in many cases, even our earliest stage companies that we're now 5 years in cycle on, we're still holding upwards of 68, 69% of the cap table after Series A and Series A dilution. And so for our initial LPs that come in on these models, it creates a very unique environment to where we have the ability to basically take the LP investors get to take the founder equity stake at the beginning of the model, But because of our process, we also get to do that in a very de-risked position. Many times these companies will have been at the university level or having some level of investment, sometimes non-dilutive capital in the form of grants, investments, other types of accelerations to try to get the technology accessed. And when we get the opportunity to play with those particular companies, you'll see in just a second, we have a 6-phase model by which we're able to de-risk when we deploy capital against those companies and make that process tick. And so this unique model is good for LPs and investors and those that are looking for diversified placement of their capital. But the next question is typically, why in the world would a university want to do this particular model? And that really comes down to this slide here. And so here are the 5 reasons. We found that first, Baylor University wanted to do this, and then we have engaged with the remaining logos and processes that you see here. First, let me tell you the story at Baylor and kind of how this all got started. You guys might remember back, Baylor had a little bit of controversies on the campus with Art Briles and some of the football players, and there's a whole bunch of cultural stuff. There wound up being a massive leadership transition at Baylor, and President Livingstone was brought in 2017-18 timeframe to come in. And after doing her listen and learn tour, she reached a point where she said, listen, we really need to change some of the focus and the major pillars upon which Baylor was being built at that time. And she made a commitment to say, we really want to actually advance into the process of being a research-oriented university and drawing in faculty, students, postgraduates, and research dollars to the university in order to advance the mission at Baylor University. And so at the time, you probably are familiar with, if you're involved in tech transfer or university transfers at all, there's the entire Carnegie Mellon rating system. There's R1 status, R2 status, R3 status. At the time when we met and started these conversations with President Livingstone and the university, they were R nothing. They had a vision to get to R1 by 2026 was their initial goal. And after we got together and partnered together on the model that I'm about to unpack for you, gratefully, we started in 2000. At the end of 2022, they were awarded R1 status 4 years ahead of schedule on that process because of how this process worked for them. So let me walk through that desire for President Livingstone led to the opportunity. My partner, Alan Page, who some of you all got to meet in some other contexts and other positions, my partner happens to be a recovering CPA and an IP attorney, and he taught the mergers and acquisitions courses at the Baylor Law School. That is how we got invited into this conversation, because they came to Alan and they said, hey, we'd really like to advance our R1 status. We'd like to be doing more research and partnering with industry, partnering with market partners and investors out in the marketplace, but we just can't seem to make that connection, and we're not able to source and get these dollars to come into the university. After some time and several meetings, Alan was able to sit down and explain what we had was a disconnect. There was a misalignment of agenda and values and risk. And so because of that, he explained that, until you get some of those things synced up, it was going to be really hard to attract appropriate LP capital coming in, from a PE or a VC early stage environment. And they basically said to Alan, could you build a model that would make that more attractive? The model I'm about to discuss for you is what Alan presented to them late 2019. And it's how we launched our firm and created our entire process here. And so here's how that model works. The first thing that Alan highlighted for the university was, you guys are good at teaching and doing lab research and bench level research. You're not necessarily good at going to market, starting businesses, building businesses, scaling businesses, or negotiating with the open marketplace on how to do that. And so rather than typically, doing one of two models, a lot of universities do what we call the faculty push-out model. Dr. Jimmy built this widget. Dr. Jimmy's going to get supported by the university and go out, and we're going to hope Dr. Jimmy knows how to start a company, found a company, launch a company, go to market and get the product market fit, and then get actual revenue to flow into that. That's a sub 0.05% chance that happens, because just because you're a great inventor or founder does not mean that you have the skills to actually launch a business. The other major model, which all of you are certainly aware of, is just a straight royalty licensing model. So you license out the royalty return approach on the IP to an industry, large company or some other type of individual, and you try to collect dollars back on that. Where we started was, we said, let us create a business environment where we get the business experts, startup experts, scaling business and market fit experts, and bring them into the business around your IP. But we're not going to do faculty push out. We're not going to do license of IP. out, we're going to do full assignment models. What that means is literally these universities assign the rights to the IP to the new startup, NewCo. And for that, they receive two things in return. The very first thing they receive is number 2 on this slide. They receive usually a 3-year minimum investment guarantee from the external startup company back into the university to complete additional research and follow-up investment into the development of the technology. Because this is a fully outside the university, non-university controlled, non-university governance entity, they get full R1 credit for every one of those committed dollars within those first 3 years. So they get those fundings into the lab, they get the research dollars committed. And even in the event that a company would fail, and knock on wood, we haven't had any companies do poorly at all, even if that were the case, they've received 3 years of guaranteed funding into that organization, and they've gotten their R1 status. This is what Baylor leveraged across multiple companies that we funded in the first 2 years. This is what Baylor leveraged in order to get their R1 Carnegie Mellon metrics up to the point where they were granted that R1 status 4 years ahead of schedule. In addition to the guaranteed upfront money, the university then receives an 8% simulated royalty position. So they get 8% simulated royalty all the way through development of the company and all the way through exit of the company. The university has no clawbacks, they have no block rights, they have no other portions of control within the governance of the organization, but they do receive that 8% royalty. So for every company that they put into the model, they get 3 years of guaranteed funding for the lab. And then on those companies that have a success and have a win and have an exit, they also get an 8% guaranteed royalty stake, which is typically 2 to 3 points higher than their historic or legacy style royalty models that they have done. So guaranteed money on the front side, better than normal royalty model stretched on the actual simulated exit. And so for those reasons and the de-risking of their position that they have other experts to come build company, run company, exit company, Baylor found that to be very, very successful. Thankfully, not only did Baylor find it to be successful, but you see the other logos here. Every one of the other logos that is on this screen has been an inbound request to us to bring our financial model as an adjunct to the ongoing tech commercialization processes that are going on in each of these campuses. So number 1, we do an assignment, not a straight licensing model. Number 2, we give them guaranteed money up front with an 8% simulated royalty exit at the backside. Number 3, we minimize the amount of founder effect that typically happens. When you have a founder that's created a baby or a widget or a new company or a new technology, and they think that the technology should be able to go 10 paces to the front, turn left, and then turn into a blue light, they think that's what's best because that's what they invented. But we as market experts and industry feedback from all of our experts, we're able to say, no, if you could go 8 paces, turn right, and turn red, then you've got a market fit that'll drive revenue and the sustainment of your company. And so we're able to reseat that founder seat with business experienced experts that have been around the block and know how those deals go. But we do have the opportunity to invite that particular inventor, founder, faculty into the company if they do have skill sets that are unique or ubiquitously needed into that company. So maybe they're the right person for the CTO position. Maybe they're the right person on the BD conversations and doing some of the sales pitches. In those events, outside of the economics that we do at number 2 with the university, we can offer that faculty additional direct economics, incentive pool units, whatever that is. And so this combination of these 3 things, this is how we do our initial startups. 8% simulated royalty to the university, 10% management pool, sometimes 15% management pool, depending on the technology or the company. And so that's 18 points. And then we literally just took the other 82 and we put them into the founder LP equity stakes that we offer to all the investors that come into this particular situation. The next 2 are pretty straightforward. Most of y'all are in the space and know how this works, but because these are coming out at early TRL stages, technologies coming from these campuses, TRL 3, 4, pre-revenue, always, we're able to start the near zero valuation point so that our LPs who come in with 82% stake, they get that first major hockey stick lift once we get to Series A, product market fit, first customers, first revenue coming in. And so they get to benefit from that valuation jump that happens in that particular situation. And as I stated earlier, traditional VC funds looking for 10 plays, they're looking for that one, good solid triple, maybe a home run, couple of companies to cover, and then they're certainly going to take some full-on losses in some of these. Because of our situation, at currently a wave, we're 5 years in, but we've had 0 companies go to 0. We've had all of them you'll hear about in a minute, but we got all companies are doing well and progressing in revenue. And right now, out of the 10 plays that we have at least 3, if not 4, still potential unicorns with a $1 billion exit opportunity still ahead in this particular situation. So been a lot of fun. Maybe some of those logos you see there, you maybe have a history with or your affinity with, or some other things, and we can certainly talk about that when we get to Q&A here in a minute and see if anybody has any questions specifics about that. So that is the unique model that we have on the economic side. This is the unique arrangement that we take with our university partners and why it works for them along the drivers of their position on the university world, trying to grow their research abilities on campus. Let's talk a little bit about what do we do and how do we go through and source that. This is a very quick slide to show you that we have a 6-phase process that reduces risk at each stage and allows us to go through and be a part of the earliest identification of technologies when they go through an IP reporting process at Baylor or OSU or A&M or any of those locations. The process outlined here is most ubiquitous to our Baylor location, but we certainly apply this process, to multiple variations with our different university partners. So while we don't get involved with capital or company building until phases 5 or 6 here later stage, we are getting visibility, activation, and input into the earlier 4 stages of this process. So initial identification and evaluation of a technology, then product ideation fit. How are they going to take that through with their initial MVP, some of their early stage TRL 3 and 4 developments? Most of the time, by the time we get to the point of putting in capital or proposing capital, we do have a pretty good, clear picture on the university's current IP position and what they've done to protect and create moat for that world. We have our own firms that come in and do additional work on the outside to help us with that as for those companies we do plan to take forward to financial investment. Stage 4, this is the point where we have a very significant partnership with a group called Brazos Innovation Partners. They act as our internal CTO or CTO team, and they work with each of our campuses and help drive the tech transfer studio model at each of the campuses that we're engaged with to validate the technology and get it ready for MVP. Often at this point, needing the money to kind of get through that valley of death, come through TRL 4 or 5, and then start pressing up towards getting to commercial products. And then it is at stage 5 here where we go through the process of doing the assignment negotiation with the university, identifying that technology, identifying the talent, the team, the location, the different resources that we'll need to build that company. We raise the funds or deploy those funds out of our raised funds or SVPs. And then we go to the work of doing the company building. Of course, that's where all the hard work is, and anything new takes a while to do that. But as you'll learn in a second, we've got a team of people that have been doing that for some time. So this is our process by which we work with our university partners to identify, de-risk, and then position the company ready for outbounding and company building. Where we go with our early stage investments is pretty straightforward. We typically play at a pre-seed level and then carry the company through multiple rounds. Series A and Series B, we typically will look for other institutions or firms to come along and run point on that. We maintain our position with the seed investors and go through that. We will invest as follow-ons, of course, into the companies that we have success to show, confidence and continue to desire for the company to grow. But we are looking for co-invest and lead investors at Series A and Series B typically, which we've done. But for us, as we're assessing all of the different technologies that are out there on these campuses, I think there's over 43 or 44 that we're actively engaged with right now, studying and looking at. We're looking for things that are, can we match the right world-class leadership with the particular technology? Can we bring a real-world solution, something that's not an esoteric, side niche style product, but something that's going to solve a real-world opportunity? And can that solve and that leadership team being put together, can we actually do this at some version of significant scale? Because of our past and the company and the team that we've been able to amass here, we're really looking for things that have mass market addressability, usually a world level view, if not just a broad North American view in the process. Our team that's gotten together, and we got together in 2019 and started putting all this together. When we started assessing all of our prior experiences and different things that we've done, we realized that we had some predilections to be in certain spaces, healthcare being one of them because of my background and some others. But we had just prior to launching Wave Fund 1, we had raised just under $650 million. We deployed that against 32 companies. And at the time that we started the fundraise for Wave Fund 1, we had already had 12 exits out of those 32, some of which you'll see here in just a minute. Already had an early stage TVPI and great advancement on that. But we'd been through the process of being the founder, being the executive, running the turnaround, doing the startup, going from 0 to 1, taking it from 10 to 100. We'd had a lot of experience in those particular areas. And so that group that you see here at the top, so the second bold guy there, that's me with my background, which we covered earlier there. That's Alan Page, the other partner who was kind of the architect for some of the financial and the approaches there. Spent a lot of time down in the Austin market with Austin Ventures and the DLA Piper and some other IP firms there. Since we launched our fund, Sean Lumbers, who is also in Waco, has joined us as a general partner, comes with a significant background around real estate and some other large investments, has a large AUM background for himself. We've added some other technology and studio accelerator type partners that have some experience. Travis Linderman just helped us secure MOU to work with the University of Michigan. So they will be added to our list and our process. And we've got a bunch of different operators and folks there, including Dr. Powell, who's also a recovering physician like myself, who built some technologies and IT technology monitoring systems that they eventually exited to Apple and Sequoia back in the early teens. So this is our investment team and the folks that lead up our selection processes. We also have a shared services unit that sits behind all of these different companies and investments. And we're able to fractionate out across all of that, the back office support services, even coordination with our IP attorneys, all those types of things, and do that at a fractional low cost advantage so that the startups don't have to bear that type of a burden, too large as they get their money put into their investment of developing their MVP or getting their product ready to go out to market. Here, you'll be able to see these slides later if you care to, but here's some of the examples of some of our products here listed in the boxes on the left, and some of our exit partners. So we exited to, Covidian or to Boston Scientific, GoPro, some of our deals there, pretty large. And then on the right side, you'll see a large number of the companies that we as operators have started. Many of them started from scratch, initial idea, out to the marketplace, and then created the opportunity for those particular plays to go through exit. Very quickly, just a summary on what we do with our investment strategy and how we go about things. We have 3 different areas for our group of partners and leaders that we focus on. Of course, the first is medical tech and life sciences. As you'll see across our 10 companies that we have right now, there's a predilection. I think it's nearly 60% of that is medical and life sciences. Because of our partnerships there in Waco and with L3 Harris and some others, we have several companies in the aviation engineering space. Then we have several opportunities in the energy and alternative energy spaces. We did started the fund in late 23. We did get closed subscription documents all the way to 31 oversubscribed. One of the individuals, which was a partner firm that we had done some deals with before, they had made a commitment for I think it was 6, maybe it was 7 million. And to date, they've only been able to close a certain portion of that. So as of February 25, we do have about the last $4 million in on this. This fund is available and open there. But you'll see here we have target allocations of about $500,000 to $2 million. These are typically larger than you would typically see in an early stage pre-seed, technology play. A lot of times you're writing hundreds or 250 checks here, but because of our 3-year commitment and our roadmap plan, where we've already de-risked what we believe the go-to-market strategy is going to be, we do have a kind of a larger availability of cash to go into those particular rounds. We do have an emphasis here in Texas, but as you saw with the other logos, we are now starting to spread that around the country. And then we have covered the 3 areas on the right side that and why we focus on those particular things. Just real quick to give you a little bit of history about how we've done with this fund since it's gotten launched. As we close out 2024, the companies that were within our fund already had a slight lift to their TVPI and had an IRR hitting just under 10 there. You can see the percentages of the different spaces in tech, with obviously a large portion of them being healthcare, which you'll see here. Just with deals that we have on the table and rounds that are about to close here in the next probably 120 days, we're anticipating already at end of year 3 for the fund, TVPI at 1.5, and IRR will be climbing to just over 28 there. across this fund, to show you some of the university technologies that we did transfer. These are the 5 companies that we have built, including at the bottom there, Tech Transfer Studio. We invested in and created a vehicle that takes what we built at Baylor University and now replicates that across our other university partner locations. But we've got some assets and some committed capital dollars in that particular studio in order to help advance the early stage portions of all of our university deep tech work there. But you'll see here 6P Color is a new color expansion process for all digital displays. So anything that you look at digitally on the screen, whether that's a TV or projector, medical imaging, dashboards in your car, in your plane, whatever that is, 6P Color is going to have an updated process there. We have over 80 new patents on this particular technology and lots of really good things moving forward. i3 Breather is a novel ventilator system. It came out of the COVID pandemic era. And what we now have a vision for is a lay device. You might all think about the AEDs that you see on the wall at the gym and at the school and at your restaurants and everywhere that you go. This is an opportunity to introduce breathing back into the emergency response system that a layperson can apply the device and then follow the instructions just like you do on an AED and restore normal breathing to a down patient with a respiratory or cardiovascular event. VFI Technologies is a company that does ultrasound detection of early stage polycarbonate fiber. Think aeronautics, think Boeing, think large scale processes. That company is now in year 4 and approaching just over $5 million in annual revenue there. Thule Aero is a very unique opportunity that we had come to us out of the United States Air Force Academy and some of the technology partners there at Baylor University. It's the first in over 100 years, first massive design update for propellers. And it has the unique properties of being able to decrease noise, which is a major issue for drones and delivery systems. You guys might be seeing the articles that Amazon and Walmart and everybody's starting to think about drone delivery to, for final mile deliveries in your communities. This particular system is a proprietary unloading of the tip of the propeller that allows us to decrease noise, while at the same time that would typically lead to a decrease in thrust or energy advancement. This particular design has the benefit of both increasing efficiency and therefore drive, and therefore battery life and fuel efficiency on any plane, while also doing up to 70% noise reduction of the actual noise that comes out of that process. And they've developed an entire technology of building and modeling that allows them to build that in days, not months, for any type of new airframe there. So out of our 10 technologies, these are the 10 that we have directly sourced. All 5 of those came through the Baylor relationship and are active and ongoing companies. We now are in the process of preparing for Fund 2, which will be upcoming. But that will start to involve some of the new technologies coming off of our University of North Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Austin partners, and so forth. And then, as we said earlier, we do have a large number of companies that we have added to these 5. 3 of those 5, Percipio, Lassie Health, and Spark, all being in a healthcare environment. And then we have an alternative energy company, the EV in Motion, and a loyalty program here. I'm going to take some time to go through each of those companies, but I think what I'll do now is I'll send this out for anybody that's there. But let me just say, each of these companies, all 10 that we have placements in, as I said before, 3 of these companies, Percipio, Lassie Health, and 6P Color, as you see right here, all of these still have significant chances for at least greater than 500 million, but if not billion-dollar market pieces. And that's not just me as a managing partner saying that, that's market feedback to us based on where we're at with those particular growths and opportunities. But I won't take time to go through each of the portfolio companies now. I think you get the point, but you'll be able to study these. And if you have any particular interest in these particular things, we can cover that at the end in the Q&A. But let me just advance through, some of these portfolio company pieces here. And I'll just get up to the point and just see if there's any questions or any clarifications that anybody wants to have with our approach to kind of deep technology and how we leverage that advanced LP position with a de-risk model, how we manage that into our fund and manage our flow here.
Great presentation, Brian. And for those in the audience, if you have a question, please put it in the chat box. Brian, my first question is, what are the top three deep tech spaces you think hold the most promise in the current market?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So for us, I do think it's in the life sciences and the technology aspects of the life sciences. Innovation that's going to be required in healthcare to control costs. As many of you know, our healthcare costs in the U.S. are 3.5 times any other development country in the world. And the current modeling and payment systems that we all use in healthcare are broken. And so to gain entry in that, I think the earliest deep stage techs coming off university campus that have the most promise, I think, are in that area. Of course, some of that is informed with AI. The Precipio company that we mentioned here is our AI investment. In fact, out of the 31, we've made a $10 million bet on that particular company out of our funds here. But early stage life sciences, I think, is going to be key. I think there's going to be significant deep tech advancements in robotics and automation of mechanical engineering and other services there. So we're very interested in that particular space. And as we start our new university relationship partners, we do kind of source out those two particular things. And then third, I would say that any technologies or tech that is in the space of managing, monitoring, and reporting on energy usage and energy efficiency. I think the energy and the alternative energy space is going to be the third deepest space and location, certainly, that we're looking at, and certainly we've seen a lot of interest in around the country.
Well, health tech is certainly a very big space. Where do you think AI and the technology will have its biggest gains? Where should it be going first?
Yeah, so my personal opinion is this. I spent multiple decades in the healthcare space, and primarily in hospital-based services, and our entire evolution of healthcare right now, it's based on payment for volume. So regardless of what happens in healthcare, what the outcome is, you pay for procedure, you pay for a visit, you pay for a prescription, and the evolution that's needed in healthcare is that we have to reduce the cost of healthcare and get it to where the correct things are being incentivized for payments. If you think about it, let's say that Hall was a surgeon, I was the anesthesiologist, we do a surgery, and you wind up with a complication of an infection and have to have 3 more surgeries. Well, the complication is that we had an infection that should have been prevented, but the incentive is, weirdly put in place that we're going to have 3 more surgeries, and I'm going to get paid for 3 more surgeries on that particular situation. And so the biggest innovation, I think, is we have to move from volume to value. You have to be paid on value and outcome, which is a very tricky thing to do. In order to accomplish that goal, our belief, and many thought leaders in the space, is we must move the hospital to the home. What I mean by that is we have to use technology advantages to be able to monitor, manage, and maintain patients and their health in their home without requiring them to have to come to the doctor's office, come to the ambulatory surgery center, or to come to the hospital or the emergency room. To do that, the biggest advancements, to your direct question, Hall, are going to be around artificial intelligence and the empowerment of remote patient monitoring, what we call RPM, in the home space to avert and create opportunities for intervention before crisis or the acuity of a medical condition has risen to the point where they do have to go to an emergency visit, or they do have to go to the hospital on a weekend and get admitted for 3 days for diuretics or whatever the particular thing is. So I think the #1 movement is hospital to home and the empowerment of remote patient monitoring.
Great. We have a question from the audience, or actually from Ray on the panel. Clarification,
Yeah.
does the company own the IP? Who has control over the board? And is the royalty perpetual?
Great
It's in the
question.
chat box, yeah.
Yeah, great questions. And so this comes down to our assignment model. So the company, i.e. the investors and the founders, that is a full assignment of the rights to the IP. It is an ownership transfer from the university to the startup company. So to that question, it's absolutely IP is controlled and maintained there. Now, to be a little bit more transparent on how that works, we do have clauses that, let's say I brought out 6-speed color, but after 5 years, there's been zero commercialization, or there's been zero advancement of the technology. If there's failure to perform and go to market, then the university can have some clawback rights or get additional rights back on the university. But as long as we win and succeed with the advancement and the return of the royalty to the university, then we get to hold the IP and it stays in our power and control. The board is 100% chosen, selected, and seated by us as the investment firm in this particular case, We try to bring in, obviously, subject matter experts, finance and go-to-market strategists, and folks to do that. But we seat the board, and the university, by de facto modeling, does not get a seat. A lot of times they'll want to have somebody placed in there and do that. That just becomes a distraction and sometimes a roadblock to advancement on agenda and certainly speed. And then the royalty is not perpetual. The royalty continues all the way until change in control. So our job is to grow IP, monetize MVP, and then exit the company to the largest bidder who can pick up that wholly owned IP portfolio company, take the technology and the talent and the transfer and move it on. But at that exit, the university receives their 8% simulated phantom equity style return, and they're done. And they don't have any blocks. You don't want to decrease your market multiple by telling, the buyer, hey, you get to get rid of us, but you got to keep Baylor in your back pocket for 8% the rest of your life. Nobody would go for that. And so we ended at the change of control moment.
Great. Next question is the university's 8% royalty terms fixed and non-diluted with follow-on investment? And I assume it's based on sales figures or time period?
The terms there are negotiable, and so sometimes we do have performance triggers, amount of revenue generated by a certain amount of time. I'll give you one instance. We had a term where if the 8% did not materialize a certain amount by a certain point, they can earn up to an additional 2 points on the royalty for lag of time. Think about IRR stretch out. If there was a lag of time until commercialization, they had a chance to trigger up and get up to 10. But those individual terms based on the technology are individually negotiated at each transfer.
And are the follow-on IP developed post-engagement and investment shared on specific terms between the university and Wave?
Can you repeat that one? I didn't see that one. Say it again.
It's in the Q&A box, but it says, are the follow-on IP developed post-engagement and investment shared on specific terms between the university and Wave? So,
great point. Yeah, so typically there is a pre-existing legacy set of IP patents and things that are transferred and assigned to the new startup company. And from that point forward, all new IP or any new improvements, continuations, developments on that are owned solely by the company. The university does not get rights back to any of the newly developed IP that happens out of the process of building the company.
Great. And the last question is, are you looking at any biotech inventions coming out of Baylor or others right now?
At this point, we do not have any biotech direct university companies ready for what we call stage 5 are coming out of this particular case. All of our biotech engagements right now have been typically sourced, VC, founder-led companies. But it's certainly one of the areas that has drawn the most attention, in particular at OSU and at Texas A&M. I believe one of those campuses will be one of our first biotech transfers, but those are not yet out and available for release.
Great. And so, great. If you guys have any more questions, please put in the chat box or Q&A. My next question is around alternative energy. Where do you think that's going these days? It's continuing to be with solar, wind, and geothermal, or is it going nuclear or some other way?
Yeah, so it's a really, really good question. Regardless of where you're at on the political spectrum and all of the other points, if you study the raw data, I think it's fairly evident that the alternatives as proposed, solar, wind, are not sufficient, especially with our current storage capacity, right? And the ability to harness and store those at great enough volumes in order to affect actual daytime delivery of energy. And so, with all of the different mandates that we heard over the last year and a half of, so many electric cars have to be sold and so many different changes have to be happening in different markets. We actually believe that the nuclear energy solution is actually going to be one of the most significant needed and pursued opportunities. We have some friends out at Abilene Christian University out in West Texas, happens to be my alma mater, where they have a new, I'm going to blank on the name of the company right now off the top of my head, but they have a new style of nuclear reactor that no longer requires water for the safety valve or the cool down emergency shutdown, but they have a new mixture of isotopic and what's the word I'm looking for? It's a certain type of salts that in the event that there's a nuclear leak or reaction, which is always the fear that keeps the general public from allowing nuclear to advance, there's the steam that goes off and the nuclear radiation up into the air and the contamination of all things. That's what we've experienced in Japan, at Chernobyl and all those types of things. With this approach, and they are being backed by the Energy Agency now, when there's a leak, there's a release of these salts. Those salts grab all the radiation that literally falls onto the floor. you got to go in and sweep it all up, but then you immediately turn everything back on and there's no danger to the environment in that particular situation. And so they are building a 1 megawatt nuclear reactor literally on the old elementary school campus where my kids went to school. It's literally across the street from Abilene Christian University. It's like right in the middle of town. And they're building that right now in Abilene. And I believe nuclear will be the future. And I think many other countries are probably going to beat us to it because of political agenda and other things are going to hold us back here. But eventually, I do think nuclear is going to be the answer there.
Great. If anybody else has any questions, please post it now. At this point, Brian, do you want to say a few words to wrap up? How best for people to get back in touch with you?
Yeah, 100%. Happy to converse with anybody that finds any of these things interesting. And I would say this, especially if you have any affinity or relationship with any of the other universities or other universities you think might be involved. One of the gentlemen that I met at dinner with Hall a month ago has a very strong relationship at Tulane, and they've been looking for an alternative. So that has led to us talking about some conversations with Tulane down in Louisiana. But very simply, my email is brian@waveventures.com. Feel free to reach out to me. Kat also has the materials that we've seen today. And so whatever the normal follow-up processes are, Hall and Kat might distribute some of this information. My cell phone's in there as well. And so anybody that would like to talk, feel free to discuss things in the future.
We did have one more question. Have you looked at using your model for private labs, SWRI, as well as universities?
The straight answer is no. Most of the time, private labs have connectivity to either funding sponsors or collaboration partners out there. Not opposed to that at all. We found ourselves in this little niche here and have been very busy, trying to put all this together here. But if there's knowledge or interest of how this similar style approach could do that, happy to co-labor on that with somebody that can help put that together with us.
Great. Well, great presentation and looking forward to seeing more. Is there another question here? Oh, we've done that. So yes, you'll be at the breakout rooms, I assume. And so
Yes, sir.
if anybody in the audience would like to talk to Brian directly, he'll be in the breakout rooms here. We have a few presentations before we get there. With that, let's bring up our first presenter, FIntegrate. Chris, go ahead and launch your slides and kick off when you're ready. We'll have 3 of these. Each one gets 10 minutes to pitch, 5 minutes Q&A. Brian, welcome your thoughts on these as well as those in the audience.
All right, very good. I'm going to ask Ray to, there we go, kick off the slide deck, put it in full screen mode. I'll apologize. I'm at a conference right now in a conference room, so it may get kind of loud here, but I'll try to be efficient with your time. FIntegrate is a technology SaaS-based fintech company focused on collections and recovery, software for banks and credit unions, and dispute management and compliance for fraudulent transactions. We've been in business as FIntegrate for about 3 years. Prior to that, I've had 4 other companies that have done in the similar space in fintech. So our goal here is, as you see on the screen, is $1 million convertible note to really expand our sales and marketing team. We've got a proven customer base already out there, proven products in process, already in place, about 100 customers, and we're now wanting to expand our sales and marketing. And to that end, there's about 10,000 banks in the country, 9,500 banks and credit unions. Our sweet spot is kind of right in the center. So it's banks that are between 20 billion down to maybe like 100 million in assets. While we have $200 billion customers, we also have $100 million customers. And their primary driver for that obviously is the increase in fraud and the increase in regulatory and compliance issues in the last several years. So their technology, if they have any, in the banks is pretty outdated. A lot of the banks are even using spreadsheets, if you can believe that, for manual processing and tracking of your credit card dispute or your delinquent account, things like that. So Ray, go to the next slide. So we have today in the marketplace 3 products. The CRS is for collections and recovery. That's the annual, roughly the annual spend there. Obviously the $200 billion banks spend a lot more than $100 million credit union. But that's the collection recovery starts with the process of pre-delinquency risk scoring all the way through to asset recovery and post-charge-off asset and revenue recovery. Dispute management is for our Fusion DMS. That product was created 3 years ago. We have about 30 customers, I think, signed up for that right now. And that tracks disputes from intake through to resolution and reporting and keeps the bank in compliance, but it also gives their end users a seamless experience to get their money back into their account quickly while the dispute is being investigated. And then Fusion LRS is our data conversion product, which was the companies that had previous to this in this industry, did merger and acquisition data conversions. So, Brad, you can go to the next slide, please. So, as I said, the total addressable market that we're really focused on is those 5,500 banks and credit unions, between 10 billion, 20 billion, and less. So we feel like we can land and expand there pretty quickly with these funds because we already have proven products and a proven process. Next slide, Ray. My management team and myself have been together for the last 4 companies. Okay, I forgot one here. Yeah. We've been together for the last 3 companies, to say the least there. And Jason Alfano is our co-founder and CTO, has been with me for the last 4 companies as well. So we've all had successful exits along the way with different fintech companies. So Ray, if you'll back up 1 slide, please. So this is kind of the NASCAR slide, if you will, of our current, some of our customers there, our product mix that we have, about 95 customers on the different products today. And then these companies on the right-hand side, those are the industry drivers for banking technology. And I've sold companies to some of these, and they still resell our software and services or refer our software and services today. So we have a really good working relationship with these industry companies. Okay, Ray? Again, the management team's been together. This is kind of a quick list of some of our previous exits there over the last several years, but they've all been in fintech. They've all been in data access and integration, and which is what we're really doing here behind the scenes to make this product, this workflow automation successful. Right?
Yeah, and so I'm Ray Martin. I'm one of the founding investors in the company, and I'm going to just talk about some of the financial slides. I'm helping the company raise some money right now. So if you look, so we have some really good revenue growth. Since Chris and his management team have done 4 bootstrap companies before, they're very efficient users of capital. We raised a total of 3.2 million, a million of that from management, 2.2 from friends and family. The first 1.3 million went out to actually acquire the Fusion CRS platform, and then the rest of the money has been there for development. So pretty efficient to generate that kind of revenues with a relatively low amount of money. And with the $1 million convertible note, we're going to hire some sales and marketing people, and because the application's out there and is successful, we don't need any more managers. We need some soldiers to come in and help us build this out. But it's a big addressable market, and we think we can go out there and get a lot of customers in the door pretty quickly. So it's pretty standard terms: $12 million valuation cap, 20% discount, post-money valuation, 3-year term, 7% interest, and 100,000 minimum investment. And as I said, most of the money goes towards, we have a little bit towards software development, but most of it's going to sales and marketing. If you invest $1 million and you look at 2026 revenues and there's an exit there, if it's 5 or 8 times, pretty good valuations there and pretty good IRRs. Most likely exits, there are 8 large software aggregators. 2 of them have already approached us, but we're not ready for them. Very easy to sell to them once you have 3 million in revenues. Private equity companies, core processors, those were some of the integration partners that Chris talked about. There's some competitors, someone's already approached us, and then there are adjacent software companies. But as most of you know, M&A in the software world, especially in fintech, is very active, and we feel that the exit will probably be the least of the issues for us. We just really need to get to that $3 million revenue, 3 to 5 million, and then people really start looking at you. So just in summary, really strong revenue growth. Started out at 342 in 2021 and hope to get to 3 million this year. Got to 1.8 million last year. 94 customers, 5 to 7 year contracts. One thing that's really important is we bring automation to banks, and many of these smaller banks do not have very good technical proficiency. So we bring a really strong path to AI with our existing software applications, and we can talk more about that later. The teams had 4, Chris has had 4 previous bank fintechs, very focused addressable market, pretty large too. Management has cash invested, and we've got some really strong exit prospects. So that's it. We're ready for question Q&A.
Great. Thanks, guys. Brian, did you have a question?
Yeah, the first question is with the target of your market being, medium and let's call them medium and smaller banks. Um, is your product specifically on credit card debit and credit card transactions, or does it also handle fraud and other management issues around ACH and transfers?
Great question. So it handles all types of fraud. It's basically a CRM for disputes, right? So
Okay.
it's if it's check fraud, we go down to the sheriff's department. We keep all the information from the check fraud. If it's a wire, ACH, all the paperwork, documentation, a debit card, credit card, any type of internal or any type of transactional fraud. So even
Okay.
ATM, there's even and all of these are governed by different reg requirements, and our system keeps all of those and alerts the end user to what their requirements are. If they're going to be out of compliance for posting or alerting or notifying customers, our system does all that automatically, but it also manages the alerts to let them know that.
Interesting. Okay. And then post-event reporting and trending. There's so many different ways that fraud is getting overdone, these days. I would guess as part of the product offering, trends, actuals, this is a trend at your location, and therefore education and provision of guidance back to the banks on how to shore up where some of the things are identified.
So yes and no. So we're starting with the dashboard show the trending, right? They show where the money's going, how much the bank has out, what types of fraud, what types of transactions. So we do all that kind of reporting to tell you, and then also from a financial reporting, when the money comes, when they reverse that post, right? So then we've got to monitor those accounts for 2 weeks to make sure there's no, again, compliance issues, to make sure there's no overdrafts, things like that. But I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially using the AI and what we're building into the future to do the post transaction education. Right, I'd love to see us get into more of that because there's a lot of check fraud that's coming, whether it's senior, elder abuse, senior type of transact frauds and things
Yeah.
like that we can document up front and we can build the business rules in. We do this for our collection recovery system where we do predictive delinquency based on your transactional spend. I mean, it's not AI, right? But it is great transactional data that we get from the different systems input comes into ours. There's 21 different business rules set up or more based on what the bank or credit union wants to do. And we can, with a degree of accuracy, predict your delinquency or your delinquent rate. And by that, the system then assigns either an automated text or a letter going out to you, or depending on the type of account or the type of delinquency, it may assign a human in the queue to call you and kind of work a more expensive route towards that collection. So our goal is to identify it sooner and to get the delinquency in the door faster.
That's great.
Great. So, Chris, what percent of the revenue is currently recurring, and what will it be in the future?
So right now we're moving towards, and Ray can probably answer that specifically, but we're moving towards the full SaaS model. When I bought the company, a lot of it was software-based maintenance and revenue. So probably 65-70% of our revenue today is full SaaS-based revenue. They're all 5 to 7. There's some 3-year contracts in there as well, but they're all long-term reoccurring contracts.
Yeah, there is some professional services contract for the implementation part. And that actually was a little bit outsized in 2024 because we landed a big customer, 200 billion. And so there was quite a bit of implementation and customization that happened. So we charged them for that. So we've got a little bit more professional services in there. But we expect to over time the implementation, the pro serve will get down to about 10%, 10 to 15% of revenues, and everything else will be SaaS license based revenues over time.
And that money's helped us grow and invest back into the company sooner rather than
Yeah.
having to wait on the full SaaS.
Yeah.
Right. And so my next question is about AI. How do you see it contributing to your productivity here in building it, as well as in the user selling it to the user itself? How's AI going to come in there?
So I'm actually at a conference right now with probably the 200 companies that run all of fintech right in this country and all the product. And it's really cool what we focused on with AI. Some of the money in 2025 is actually going to be used to start building out our machine learning to the AI, and then the rest of the raise, if we do another one or in next year, would be used for full blown AI. But the possibilities for data modeling, if we kind of extract out the fraud and the collections and just use some nondescript data for modeling purposes. And what you can do with that is just phenomenal. So I'm really
Yeah, the
excited
other
about that.
The other co-founder is Jason Alfano, and he's the CTO. He's got a whole software development plan, and it's look as exponential as AI is exploding. He's constantly interweaving, how to change that software development plan to make the development process more efficient, as Chris said. And then, of course, as I said earlier, banks look to us, these smaller banks look to us for AI, or for, excuse me, for automation. And one of the really new things about this management team is they have, 25 years plus of understanding bank operations, bank software. They've delivered, software for companies before. They understand how banks work. And so we're the perfect people to kind of take the applications that we currently have, build AI agentic features on top of that that kind of expand the features in the applications. And so we're working on all that. So this $1 million convert is really to help us really do kind of a jump up in sales and marketing. And then next year we're thinking, it's not in the numbers, but next year we're thinking of doing a Series A, raising kind of $3 million, and then really go after the AI opportunity.
Great. And my last question is, Chris, you've had many good exits there. What have you done in the past to achieve positive exits, and how are you running that game plan here?
We're selling to the same people we've always sold to, right? There's been 10,000 banks. They kind of roll up and buy and sell, but it's still the same people. We have a great name in the industry, I think. We have great products. We can at least get an audience with the same banks I sold to the last 2 or 3 times. If the product's not a fit, it's not a fit. But our co-marketers and our other companies that we sell products to, like the ones you saw on the screen earlier, we're going down the path of now reselling those. We've had 2 meetings this week while I'm at this conference with them reselling our software and services as well. So it's a very incestuous small business fintech and banking is. So everybody knows that if you do a good job, or if you don't do a good job, our plan there is just to continue to serve community banks and credit unions and build good products and make some money doing it.
That's great. We're at the end of our time. I want to thank you both for a great presentation. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the breakout room here shortly. And with that, let's bring up our next presenter, Ken Marish of Sinaptica. Ken, if you want to go ahead and launch your slides and kick off when ready. We see it now.
All right, great. Thank you so much for giving me the time to share with you this amazing breakthrough in Alzheimer's. So we have a personalized take on an existing stimulation technology. It is TMS technology, which has now been paired with EEG. And I'll tell you why that's important in a minute, but the results are absolutely unprecedented. We have 2 phase 2 trials that are done now that show that our therapy works in slowing down the disease of Alzheimer's in every domain at 6 months and at 12 months. These are published, randomized, peer-reviewed data. So I'll be sharing that in a minute, but that's the high level. And all of us know somebody or have experienced themselves this hideous disease. It engulfs the lives of families in a way no other disease does. You think about terminal illnesses like cancer have a 70% mortality rate. Alzheimer's is a 100% mortality rate. It is a death sentence, and it is not an easy death. It's 5 to 7 years of a slow motion train wreck, which I saw with my own grandmother and my grandfather. But isn't it a graveyard of failures, you might say? Well, yeah, but the problem has been the industry has been obsessively focused on just one target, amyloid. We call it the usual suspect. For 20 years, we've all been focused on one target. Well, targeting amyloid is like cleaning up the ashes after the house is burned down. We need to look at other suspects. Who started the fire? We need to look upstream of amyloid. So we're focused on neurodegeneration. The synapses themselves start to misfire in Alzheimer's. And so simply put, when you electrically stimulate these neurons, they strengthen. So it's magnetically induced electrical stimulation. So that induces what we call neuroplasticity. That is the strengthening of the networks that compose the brain. And the question is, can we get enough neuroplasticity to slow down this freight train of a disease? So transcranial magnetic stimulation, some of you have heard of it. It's TMS. It's been around since 2008. It's powerful and it's painless. And it does work in depression. But until now, it's really shooting in the dark. There's no way to confirm what you're actually stimulating in the brain with TMS as it is today. Now, our patented technology combines TMS with EEG in real time. And so now we can confirm if we've hit the right target, and that changes everything. So like throwing a pebble into the pond, TMS fires at the brain, at the precuneus in our case, right here. So 3, 2, 1, bang. That's one pulse. Slowed down, obviously. You're seeing how it propagates in the brain. And that's like active sonar of the brain that allows us to confirm if we hit the right target. In our case, the target is the whole default mode network. We want to see propagation of the pulses within the entire network because that is the network where memories are formed. And that, Alzheimer's being a disease of memory, is the most affected network in the brain with Alzheimer's. So Giacomo is our professor at University of Ferrara, and he runs the Santa Lucia Brain Stimulation Lab. It's been there since 1960. It's a 350-bed facility, a major center for Europe. And Emiliano's over at Harvard. He's a professor of neurology and psychiatry. He focuses on the data science aspects of things, and they've been collaborating on this problem for about 15 years. They're funded by all the right institutions, including by the Bill Gates-backed ADDF 5 times before. 700 peer-reviewed articles between the two of them. Absolutely outstanding, prolific experts in this field. So here are the results from our latest phase 2 clinical trial. Here's Giacomo on the stage. He's unveiling the results to the world at the largest conference in the world on Alzheimer's. And that was the audience in attendance. And you could hear a pin drop because no one has seen data like this in quite a while. So the one-year trial was a complete success on every single measure. We significantly slowed disease progression in all 3 domains: cognition, function, and behavior. That is the trifecta. No drug has ever done that. On activities of daily living, this is a 78-point scale. The stimulated arm lost 1.5 points out of 78, so barely any loss of function. You know, feed yourself, dress yourself, bathe yourself. That's the kind of function we're talking about. And unfortunately, the placebo lost about 10% of their function. So anyway, strong results. We really stabilized the disease in terms of function. Have not seen data like this in 20 years, maybe since Aricept. So the worst thing, well, actually, let me take a step back. So you might ask, well, are you actually stimulating the brain and giving patients a little temporary bump, or are you literally changing the brain? We are changing the brain. So this is outside independent work done by a third party, Oxford Brain Diagnostics, where they did the fMRI and the MRI data on our patients. And what they found was new connections in the brain, that's the colored piece that you see here, are formed especially where we stimulate. So we are literally creating new connections in the brain. We're preserving the microstructure of the brain, and we're even preserving gray matter volume as measured by structural MRI, voxel-based morphometry. This is the worst that could happen to you with our therapy. You could get a mild headache in 1 out of 10 patients, a small price to pay for preserving everything that it means to be human. We got FDA breakthrough designation. We're published in major peer-reviewed journals. The Oxford Journal Brain has been around for only 140 years, and we're getting great press now in Newsweek and NBC and Stat News, really talking about this major breakthrough. The ADDF approached us. That's where Bill Gates puts his money. His father died of Alzheimer's. Jeff Bezos also puts his money there to support Alzheimer's research. And the Lauder family, that's Gary Lauder. Estee Lauder died of Alzheimer's, and so the ADDF was established in her name. So they are a huge foundation, and they came to us wanting to fund our next trial. We're also being highlighted by RBC, great bank, huge bank. Why us? Well, because they see a huge IPO potential in the future for something like an Alzheimer's breakthrough like this. So every patient has to get calibrated to ensure we're stimulating the right spot on the brain. Every patient responds differently. They don't feel a thing. All they need is a simple finger prick blood test and an MRI. And this system actually exists. This is not a mock-up. It's already approved in depression. We've simply repurposed it and added personalization with EEG and connected it to the internet. The first clinical unit ships in April. So just want to emphasize personalization and precision are critical, and we own the FTO, the freedom to operate worldwide. Our patents are granted, and they cover the method of using TMS with EEG to personalize in any brain disease. We also got our reimbursement codes, so we're well on the path to having Medicare pay for this, up to $22,000 per patient per year. $22,000 per patient really adds up in a disease state with 6 million patients. So we make money by selling the entire system, and we charge per use. About $290,000 that goes to Sinaptica from just 40 patients. Of course, there are 4.8 million patients on label. That's just from 40 patients. And neurologists have a huge new profit center here with this therapy, 366 per week. And then each patient gets 50 treatments per week. That's $730,000 to the neurologist. Now they have to pay us, they have to hire a technician, they have to buy the machine, but the net to the neurologist, this thing pays for itself. Almost 400,000 per system per year in profit from just 40 patients. And some of these neurologists have hundreds of patients. And remember, they don't make any money on the drugs. Here, they're making a ton of money on a therapy that actually works with almost no side effects. So we have a thoughtful go-to-market plan that puts us on a conservative pathway to 900 million in sales by year 7. I'm not showing you some crazy hockey stick to the moon. This is a very defensible model. 700 million of that has drug-like margins, over 90%, because it's the per-click fee. So incredibly lucrative economics. Now, in the hands of Boston Scientific, they could run this to 2.2 billion in just the US. How do I know? Well, I was the head of strategy for Boston Scientific's billion-dollar neuromodulation division for nearly a decade. That's the very division that would acquire us. I also ran the Cosman franchise, so I've sold capital equipment in 40 countries worldwide. Rich McCary comes from Wall Street. We've got people who've actually built a system from scratch. Lisa's run a phase 3 in Alzheimer's before. Anyway, great team, great scientific advisory board. These are some of the biggest names in all of Alzheimer's. They agree this could be a huge breakthrough. Commercial advisors who have built the market for TMS for depression. So this convertible note is rolling. Got a little bit left. It funds an early AD study, which is already enrolling patients. We got about 7 patients in now. If we're successful in earlier AD, so the very beginning stages of Alzheimer's, we could double our LTV per patient because they'd be on the therapy twice as long, give them twice as much life if we work just as well in early AD. Now, the convertible note, which is open, rolls into the Series A, which we're also in parallel discussing with multiple VCs. That funds the pivotal study, which is up to 15 sites. That could put us on the market by 2029, which is not that far away. However, recent conversations with the FDA could easily get us approval by 2028. Wow, that is just around the corner. Think about what that would mean. A safe, effective therapy like this on the market in just 3 years. So, and when we hit the market, Boston Scientific could swoop in and buy us, or Medtronic. These are the deals they did in just neuromodulation. So Abbott could buy us. Those are neuromod deals. LivaNova we're talking to. Philips would be good. GE would be perfect. Their CFO hired me at Baxter years ago. Or if we don't get acquired, we'll IPO. NovoCure went public for 1.8 billion. NovoCure, if you're not familiar, makes a glioblastoma neuromodulation device that slows down glioblastoma, which is 100% fatal brain disease. Sound familiar? It's a fatal brain disease. Well, Alzheimer's is 400 times bigger, 400 times bigger than glioblastoma, and their device went public for 1.8 billion. So with this comp, these kind of comps, it's hard not to see enormous returns. So the $9 million note has about 2,600,000 left for 10 Capital and other angels. We have about 40 investors into the note, including Time Zero Capital. Sony is also a big backer. This note has a 55 million val cap and a 20% discount. This is not your typical angel investment. We are much further along in de-risked versus other angel deals. And now for the first time, and I hate to say we're closing in on this date, but by March 31st, we are going to lower the val cap till March 31st from 55 to 40, just till March 31st. So if you put up your hand and you sign, we can get you in for 40 million val cap, but then my board is authorized only till March 31st. It comes back up to 55, unfortunately. So if you like a piece of Sinaptica at that lower val cap and you put up your hand to get a commitment, we can get you in for 40. So in summary, look, this is a huge breakthrough in a holy grail of medicine. Phenomenal results from 2 phase 2 studies, a patented moneymaker for neurologists with recurring revenue margins north of 90%, could be on the market by 28. We may even be able to offer this to certain VIP patients earlier under the right clinical trial conditions. This is precision medicine at the connectome level. If you're interested in being a part of this blue ocean CNS approval, this breakthrough, I would love to have more people aboard.
Great presentation, Ken. Brian, what's your first question?
Tremendous detail there. So I'm very pleased to hear all of that. Your 2022 FDA breakthrough designation, was that granted specifically on the Alzheimer's treatment path, or was that for the alternative treatments on depression or some other type of approach?
The language for the indication was very carefully worded. It was for the treatment of Alzheimer's, full stop. Now, you'd think that they would narrow it down to just mild to moderate Alzheimer's because that's what we showed, but nope, it was for the treatment of Alzheimer's, full stop. So it's a broad indication for just Alzheimer's.
Okay. And then you guys obviously, in the middle of phase two. Interesting to me. There's the U.S. market FDA play, and then there's the international market. You mentioned an early stage process going on in Italy. Are you concomitantly chasing opportunities in Europe and other emerging markets, or are you going FDA first with this? What's your go-to-market worldwide strategy?
Everyone tells us, and I agree, and I was at Boston, we got to go after the US first. It's the biggest market, and the reimbursement, as you just heard, is tremendous. 22,000 per patient. Most of the European countries could not support that. So even if we did launch, it wouldn't hit 22,000. It might be half of that and take twice as long, and it's a smaller market. So we're doing this study because it's cheap and easy to run in Italy, honestly. Totally frank with you. It's
Yeah,
super
I get
easy
it.
to run these studies. And if we're successful, it's just going to help with the evidence in the US. We will eventually hit the European market, but I got to do one thing at a time.
Got it. And I forget where you're at in your phase two, but you're down the road. I'm just curious, your 6-month data you'll have well before 27, right?
So the 6-month phase two in mild to moderate was done a long time ago. The 12-month phase two in mild to moderate was also done a while ago. So this would be a third phase two. Now you might say, well, why are you doing another phase two? Well, it's because we want the additional evidence that shows it works in earlier disease. That's all. But this pivotal, if that's your question, this pivotal will be in mild to moderate because that's where the vast majority of our data is. And those are desperate patients with no options. The drugs are not approved for moderate. They don't work in moderate. So these patients have nothing. They've been handed a death sentence. They have nothing. So we got to go after mild to moderate first.
Got it. Of the 9, 6.8's already been raised. Is any of that from the large institutions or the foundations that you mentioned, or are they in the CD round in this play?
Yeah, so a big piece of this is 3.6 million that we're setting aside for ADDF. So we're in process on that. We passed their scientific evaluation. They know our professors really well. In fact, they're quoted in our press release. So they're very close to us. So 3.6 million is allocated to the ADDF, and that's the biggest chunk of that.
Great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
a lot of great CEOs are on board, a lot of MDs, Asymmetry Ventures, Health Tech Capital, obviously Time Zero Capital. Who else? Yeah, about 45 investors.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Going fast.
Congratulations.
So question from the audience, how is AI being used here?
Okay, so many companies say, we're AI this, we're AI that. We actually used machine learning to develop these algorithms. It's published. We used a random forest model for a classification of Alzheimer's patients. We can put it in the chat. But yes, this data is so complex, you must use machine learning to make sense of it because, standard correlations and algorithms are not enough to process this data. So we use machine learning not to do the therapy, but to develop the algorithms, because most people don't know this, but the FDA will not accept machine learning approaches that do it on the fly. They want to see the exact algorithms you're using because they don't want it to ever change, obviously, right? It's a product that could really hurt you if it changes too much. So the FDA says, tell us your algorithms, and if it's machine learning that you can't explain, you're really stuck. So we use machine learning to develop the algorithms. In our case, it's a 7-step process to clean the data, process the data, do the feature extraction, personalize the therapy, send the coordinates back to the machine, and so we can explain it. But yes, as we go forward, we're going to continue to use machine learning to refine and optimize the therapy. Absolutely. We are sitting on a gold mine of data from every patient we stimulate.
Great. With that, we're at the end of our time. Great presentation. And with that, we'll see you in the breakout rooms in a moment. And before that, we have one more, Nathan Monti of Enamel Pure. Nathan, go ahead and launch your slides and kick off when ready. And we see them.
Thanks very much. Hi, Nathan Monti, co-founder and CEO of Enamel Pure, healthy enamel pure smiles. So Enamel Pure is attacking the hygiene market, dental hygienist visits for cleanings and fluoride treatments. We're using a novel technology that uses a laser instead of the mechanical cleaning methods, as well as imaging technology to introduce the first ever oral health annual report. Something that's a little surprising is that Americans in 2021 spent $22 billion on dental hygiene. 16 billion of the 22 was for teeth cleanings, fluoride varnishes, and whitening. And the clear aligner market is about 16 billion on top of the teeth cleaning. So it's a unusually large market for possibly the simplest medical treatment in America. So our product's called Loon. You can see the picture here. The laser is included because the laser does the cleaning, the teeth cleaning, the hardening. So hardening is replacing the fluoride varnish, the inner office fluoride varnish that people get. And then there's a whitening mouth guard that you pop in the mouth after you've cleaned and hardened the teeth. So also coupled with the laser at the last knuckle in the beam delivery is a camera. It's a special camera. But the purpose is the camera and the laser beam are co-aligned coming out of the handpiece. So while the hygienist scans your teeth with the handpiece, cleaning them or hardening your enamel, you're also imaging them. So we get a complete image of all 32 teeth as well as the gums. From that, we do the machine learning and the AI analysis so that we can produce an annual oral health report for the first time ever. The machine costs about $35,000, so it's $750 or $800 a month, which is very affordable across all the dental offices. This is an easy slide. Everybody knows what the teeth cleaning is about. It's noisy, rinsing, bleeding, painful. All that's gone when you use a laser. You're not using a mechanical device anymore. And all the diagnostics are done just manually by the hygienist or the dentist looking at your teeth and guessing or judging whatever they see based on their experience. So by introducing the laser, we're going twice as fast. It's depending on the office. Some go 60-minute appointments, some go 50-minute appointments. With the laser cleaning, you can knock that down to a 30-minute appointment. It's very quiet. It's non-contact. You don't need to touch the teeth. And not only does it completely remove the plaque, which the mechanical devices don't, but also it kills the bacteria at the same time. So present technologies don't kill the bacteria at all. The laser purification is our marketing name for the hardening. So the enamel hardening, it's up to 10 times harder than using fluoride. It's a wonderful technology that preserves your enamel and your smile for life. And then once you've cleaned the teeth, you can easily whiten them because there's nothing there to block the whitening agents. And so we have a little battery and a mouth guard so you can pop it in and the patient can drive home with a mouth guard in their mouth and throw it away when they get home. The whole time we're cleaning or hardening the teeth, the camera's taking the images, is imaging the teeth and the gums. It's a 2D and 3D full color digital image. From that image, we can convert it to a measurement file, and that measurement file is sold to the clear aligner people to make clear aligners from. Why is this significant? It's significant because dentistry is perfect for AI. All of the diagnostics and disease states are determined by what you see in dentistry. So it's how you look and what's different from what you expect. And so the AI does that perfectly when you give it a great set of images. What we're doing is building the most robust image data set ever in dentistry because 160 million Americans go in to have their teeth cleaned every year. So as they sit in that chair getting their teeth cleaned, we'll image their teeth as well. That creates a massive data set, which AI loves. So it's a massive image data set, perfect for AI. And from that, we can tell things like, is your gum height changing? Or are you night grinding? Do you have bruxism? Is your enamel loss greater than normal? So on and so forth. And from that, we produce an annual oral health report so people can know how they're doing. So from a product roadmap standpoint, we did the hygienic dental treatments in 2024. We're doing the camera in 2025 and the AI in 2026, and then we'll be rolling out the AI oral health reports at the end of 2026. And then in 2027 and beyond, we'll be reconciling our dental oral health database with the medical records to see links between excessive enamel loss or enamel erosion or bacteria with heart valve problems or brain disease or whatever. So we have a real issue. You need to clean your teeth if you want to keep them. And then we have a real issue because the technology is 50 years old. We have a wonderful solution, which is the laser, which is much quicker, does a better clinical job, and it's a wonderful experience for the hygienist as well as the patient. So how do we get this to market? Dentistry is old school. There's still 3 distributors that address 95% of the 220,000 dental offices in America. So we've signed a major sales distribution with both Henry Schein and Benco, who address all those offices. We've also assigned an agreement with Medicine Partners, and they're targeting specifically the dental service organizations, the Heartland Dentals, the Pacific Dentals, North American Dental Group, all the large conglomerates. We do the sales and service support in-house, and we use a contract manufacturer who ships directly to the dental office. We're not involved. So how do we fit into dentistry? We build the device, we build the camera, the mapping, we build out our database, we do the regulatory and IP in-house. At that point, we stop and we have partners. We have partners for sales, we have partners for AI, we have partners to do the clear line of manufacturing. The reason we do that is to limit the scope of the technical development, but also to make our integration into the industry seamless. So the unit itself sits next to the hygiene chair, and it Wi-Fi connects up to the practice management system. We don't have any HIPAA issues because the practice management system tells us the patient number. We never know who the patient is. We attach the patient number to our data and we upload it to the practice management system. The practice management people, there's 3 major ones associated with the distributors. They get the AI processing done. They work with the dentist. They get paid by the dentist, and then they pay us. So all you do is roll it into the office, sit it next to the hygiene chair, hook up the Wi-Fi, and you're off and running. Again, to make everything seamless. Product Resources is our contract manufacturer in Newburyport, Massachusetts. They assemble everything. Most of the components come from Asia, and then they ship directly to the dental offices. We have no direct competition, just the existing mechanical tools. My business partner is a patent lawyer. We have 23 patents filed at the moment. 7 are issued, and we're working on 6 more related to the AI for the AI annual oral health report. How do we make money? We sell the capital equipment. We sell the Loon device. We make 45 to 50% margin there. But the money's made with the recurring revenue. We charge $2 per cleaning. We charge $3 to $5 for a purification, which is the hardening, which is the same cost as the fluoride varnish that we're replacing. And then the whitening mouth guard, again, we're a low-cost solution that's convenient and easy to use. You just pop it in and the patient drives home with it in their mouth. We license the data, which is the imaging for the AI diagnostics and the conversion to an STL file, which is a measurement file for the clear aligners. And then we license that and we upload it for a fee. I'm Nathan Monty. This is my 3rd startup. So I did one for marking water bottles called Light Laser with a laser. We sold that to VFOs Technologies, part of Danaher Corporation. I then started Convergent Dental in the dental space. We used a laser there to drill cavities instead of the dental drill. That's in Waltham, Massachusetts, nearly 30 million in sales, and we hope to exit that next year. And then my business partner Chuck and I started EnamelPure in 2022 to address the hygiene market. Chuck is not only a patent lawyer, he's also previously an engineer, and he worked in a lot of the skin resurfacing with laser technology and imaging. Patent slide, you can look at that if you're a patent person. So where are we now? We had FDA clearance for the removal of plaque and the reduction of bacteria in March. We've set up all our pilot manufacturing. We've built the first 2 units. We're qualifying them with the microscopes in inpatient in vivo situations at our local office with Dr. Patel. That should be done this week. So we hope to move our first unit into a dental clinic next week. And then the week after, we move our second unit in with a key opinion leader for Benco, one of the distributors who's in Massachusetts. And then the week after that, we'll move one into a key opinion leader in New Hampshire. So we've started the manufacturing and we're rolling out the units and getting testimonies from notable dentists. And I have a seed round that's closed. There's a super seed round which is still open. It's 8 million pre, 9.5 million post. It's a total of 1.5 million. There's 250K left. As of January, it's a little bit less now, 225, but it's not a big deal. And then if you're a lower risk investor, I will be doing an $8 million raise at 32 million pre starting in June or July. If this difference is in June and July, we'll have our pre-sales, we'll have our revenue, and we'll have all our testimonies from the key opinion leaders. So that's the whole description. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, I'd be pleased to talk about them.
Great presentation, Nathan. Brian, what's your first question?
Don't know this space as much as I know the medical side, but the billable codes, going through and getting FDA approval, but do you have to take this device through alternative paths to get approved, CPT or unit charges to get reimbursements from your major dental insurance providers, or because you're doing the same process as some of the previous older scale technologies, you get to use those codes in the billing process?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. Half and half. So our lead investor on the seed round is Delta Dental. They're the largest dental insurer in America. So for the cleaning, we can use the existing cleaning codes, no problem. For the laser hardening, the laser hardening code specifies using the fluoride varnish. So we're not going to do that. So we need a new code. We applied last October to the American Dental Association, the ADA. So this next month, April, we should get our code, and then Delta Dental said they'll fund it. But I just will note, if you want to add the fluoride after the laser hardening, you can do that as well. It does make your teeth even a little bit harder, but there's no need to, because the laser hardening is much better than the fluoride.
Than the fluoride. Okay. Very, very good. Very impressed. Great progress there.
Next question is, can you talk about the distribution network and exactly how that works?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Also, the distribution network is a traditional distributor. So Benco and Henry Schein. Henry Schein's the largest distributor in the world, dental distributor in the world, 13 billion in sales. Benco's privately owned. They're US based. They're about $1 billion in sales. Between the two of them, there's 10,000 salespeople that call on these 200,000 dental offices across America. So we simply pay a commission. We also have a spiff where the sales representatives receive a small portion of the recurring revenue for 3 years to motivate them to sell. So for Enamel Pure, it's very cash efficient. We don't have to hire a whole sales force. We instantly get 10,000 people working for us. But then you have to make sure you're not lost in the chaff, right? So that's why we're doing the spiff, and having the recurring revenue is unique in dentistry. So by giving them 25 cents for every cleaning for 3 years, it motivates the sales force to get out and sell our product for the launch.
Great. My last question is, can you talk about the intellectual property behind it? What's been filed, what's been awarded, and what's the coverage?
Yeah, thanks also. Yeah, so the intellectual property, again, all these ideas are new. So it's fairly strong and fairly broad. So we even have a claim that's been allowed, which says, we can image during another dental process. So while we're laser cleaning, we can image the teeth. The reason we can do that is because the laser is invisible. If you're using mechanical tools or scalpels or water jets or whatever, you can't do that because the device or the procedure is in the way of the imaging. So we use 75 spots to clean the teeth. So if you think of a laser beam that's a single spot, we have a special optical scheme where we present 75 spots to the tooth simultaneously, about the size of a pencil eraser. That's how we're able to clean the teeth. A little technical, but that's how we're able to clean the teeth so quickly. Again, that's fully patented. The laser mode's fully patented. It's a combination of the laser, the laser delivery, as well as the integration between the laser and the imaging. And then, of course, on the imaging side, there's all the, all the AI and optical related patents.
Great presentation. Thanks so much, Nathan, for great questions. And with that, we're at the end of our session. I want to thank Brian for a great presentation today, and all of our presenters did well. With that, we'd like to open up the breakout rooms. Here's a chance to go and talk to people individually. Feel free to jump from one room to the next if you like. I'll be in one myself if you have questions about 10 Capital or what we do. And then Brian will be in one as well to talk about what he does with Wave Ventures, and each of our companies will be there as well. So with that, just go ahead and click in the join the breakout room. And with that, we'll close it out for today, and looking forward to seeing you guys next time.